Hello everyone and welcome to another video. This time we're going to be looking at the Oldham Loop, which is located obviously in Oldham, Manchester. The Oldham Loop diverged from the Caldervale line at Fort Bridge Junction in Newton Heath, Manchester, and rejoined it at Rochdale East Junction. The line was 12 miles long and was double track from Fort Bridge Junction to Shore and Crompton, and single line from Shore and Crompton to Rochdale East Junction. There were two tunnels on the route between Oldham, Wornath and Oldham Central Railway stations. There were 9 intermediate stations on the route, and in the early 1970s the line from Shore Crompton to Rochdale was reduced to single track working. The reason for this was to save money on maintenance when services were much reduced. The history of the Oldham Loop was intertwined with the early history of railways in the Manchester and Oldham area, and to some extent also with the geography of Oldham, which meant that there was no direct Manchester to Oldham line until quite late in the 19th century. The first railway line to be built in the area was the Manchester and Leeds Railway, which opened on the 4th of July 1839 to Littleborough and throughout on the 1st of March 1841. Although this line ran close to Rochdale, it missed out Middleton and more importantly Oldham as well. A station was built at Mills Hill to provide a railhead for Middleton and Oldham. This was only intended as a short-time measure, given that Oldham was already a substantial manufacturing centre by this date. The first railway into Oldham was a branch from Middleton Junction to Oldham Wornath, which opened on the 31st of March 1842. This line included the Wornath Incline, which had a gradient of 1 in 27 and was one of the steepest lines in the country regularly used by passenger trains. The situation of the first station on Oldham on the outskirts of the town was not entirely satisfactory, and in 1847 the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway, the successor to the M&LR, extended the line from Oldham Wornath to a new station at Oldham Mumps. This was also an intermediate. There was also an intermediate station at Oldham Central. The line and the two new stations opened on the 1st of November 1847. There was a further extension of the line from Oldham Mumps to Rochdale East Junction on the 1st of November 1863. This line included stations at Milnrow, Newhay and Shore and Crompton. A branch off this line at Royton was opened on the 21st of March 1864, followed on the 1st of July 1864 by Royton Junction Railway Station. The operational problems at the Wornath Incline had led to the consideration of a more direct route from Oldham Wornath to Manchester to bypass it as early as 1848. But it was not until August 1876 that construction of the line began. It took nearly 4 years to complete, opening on the 17th of May 1880, along with the stations at Hollingwood and Dean Lane. Failsworth Station opened slightly later on the 26th of April 1881. With the construction of this section of the line, the whole route from Rochdale East Junction to Fort Bridge Junction, Newton Heath, was complete, and it became known as the Oldham Loop. The Royton to Royton Junction line was listed for closure by the Beeching Acts in the 1960s. Royton closed to goods services on the 2nd of November 1964 and passenger services on the 18th of April 1966. Although not mentioned by Beeching, a further closure in the 1960s was Oldham Central, which also closed on the 18th of April 1966. Royton Junction Station, renamed as Royton, stayed open, but by the mid-1980s a replacement for it was being considered. Derker opened on the 30th of August 1985. For a short period, trains stopped at either Derker or Royton, but eventually Royton, formerly Royton Junction Railway Station, was closed on the 8th of May 1987. This was the last station closure before the whole of the Oldham Loop was closed for conversion to Metrolink. The pattern of passenger services over the line was always that all trains from Manchester ran to Oldham Mumps, but fewer continued to terminate in the Bay platform at Rochdale. It was not unusual for trains to terminate at Oldham Mumps, and instead they ran on to Royton until its closure in 1966, and subsequently to Shaw and Crompton. While the Middleton Junction to Oldham Werneth line was open, there were a few services over that route to Oldham Mumps, Royton or Rochdale. By 1950 this had reduced to a handful of trains per day, and the services over the line reduced further until its closure in early 1963. Sorry for that mispronunciation. During the late 1960s and early 1970s, only slightly fewer trains ran from Oldham Mumps to Rochdale, but in May 1972 the Secretary of State announced that this part of the Oldham Loop would be closed. The closure did not go ahead because what later became the Greater Manchester Passenger Transport Executive agreed to fund the continuation of services. The involvement of them also led to a more frequent pattern of trains serving the Oldham Mumps to Rochdale section. From 2007, Network Rail made an annual leaf-haul timetable permanent year-round due to concerns over the condition of the track and performance. Trains were timetabled to connect with the Caldervale services to Leeds via Hebden Bridge and Bradford Interchange. All the stations and all scheduled train services were operated by Northern Rail and its predecessors. During the week, trains ran every 15 minutes on the route, with express trains leaving Manchester on the hour and half past the hour, calling at Oldham Mumps, Shaw and Crompton and all stations to Rochdale, and stopping trains at all stations between Manchester and Shaw and Crompton, leaving at 15 and 45 minutes past the hour. This skip-stop service gave an effective half-hour service frequency to the stations on the line. During the evenings and on Sundays, services were less frequent, with an hourly service calling at all stations. In regards to rolling stock, in the period up to its closure, all passenger services were operated by DMUs, otherwise known as diesel multiple units, as the line was not electrified. The most common types of unit were Class 142 and Class 150, with occasional Class 153 and Class 156s. On to its last day events. Events held on the 3rd of October 2009, the last day of operation, included the naming of Class 156 unit number 156466 as Gracie Fields to commemorate the Oldham Loop line's 146 years of history. A steam special hauled by locomotive 45231 was the last steam train over the line. It was followed later in the day by a heritage diesel tour. The last train from Manchester Victoria to Rochdale departed at 23:25. So there we are, everybody. There's a history of the Oldham Loop. I hope you've enjoyed the video. You know the drill by now. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for the support that you have given me, and also the Facebook groups that allow me to post on here. And until the next video, please do watch my other videos to fill in the time, and take care of yourselves. Goodbye.